Okay, so once we have all of those things in place, we need to understand and be realistic and say, you know what, that may not be good enough. We may still have a breach even though we have all of our systems in place. So, to that point, we need to make sure that we have an incident response plan in place as well. The important part, or the critical component to realize out of all of this, is it's important to have a plan in place before the incident. All right, we don't want to try to wing it once the walls have fallen, so to speak. Okay, so it's very important that we have a plan of action in place. We have preparation, we have systems in place for detection and analysis, and then we have systems in place for containment, eradication, and recovery, and then post-incident activity or lessons learned. Okay, and that's an iterative process. So if we're prepared, then that preparation leads us to be able to detect and analyze when threats or incidents do occur. When they do occur, that's when our incident response comes into play, and we need to have processes and systems in place for containment and eradication, and then to quickly get us back up to speed. All right, and that kind of goes back and forth as you'll understand. As things get eradicated or remediated, it kind of goes back and forth, detect and analyze. Okay, where are we? Are we good? Do we still need to do more? And it goes, kind of around and round until things are recovered. Once we're back up online and our systems are functional again, then we need to do a post-incident review or a PIR, or whatever it is in your specific organization, okay, what it's kind of called, quote unquote, a lessons learned, so that you can then go back and prepare and make sure that whatever happened previously is remediated, is removed. Okay, those threats are kind of wiped from the slate, so that we have the ability to carry on forward now for the next set of threats and vulnerabilities. Because as I said before, this is a never-ending process. You can have an incident, you can remediate, get back on your feet, recover, do a post-incident review. But if you don't put things in place to then recover or to mitigate anything going forward, and you think, well, one and done, we're in the clear. No, it's a continuous process. So that's why this graphic kind of shows things as kind of a revolving process as well. So again, critical to have a plan in place before something happens. We can't try to do this thing once kind of it hits the fan, so to speak. We have to make sure that all these things are in place, and as soon as something kicks off, boom, we have people in place. We have a SWAT team, so to speak, that kind of swoops in, shuts things down, takes logs, does the forensic analysis, whatever needs to be, brings our systems back up online. We basically safeguard customer data or internal data or intellectual property or whatever it is our asset is, quote unquote. That's of the utmost importance. Okay, and time is of the essence. Okay, something else I want to touch on, just take a side note for a second, is the average time to remediate attacks. Once you actually get into this space, and for those of you that are already in the security space, you may be more familiar with this than others, it actually takes a lot longer than you think. There's a gap between what's real and what is perceived. A recent study that was just concluded this year in 2014 shows that the average impact of a cyber attack and the average time to contain a cyber attack was 31 days. All right, so it takes a lot longer than most people realize to actually even understand and identify the fact that you were attacked. And then once that identification takes place, to be able to contain and remediate. All right, so the average cost per incident of these attacks across over 250 organizations that were surveyed, the average cost per incident was $640,000. Okay, that's a sizable number. Now, depending upon the industry, that may be more of a bite than others. Okay, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, 640K may not be, a deal breaker. But I certainly wouldn't want to come out of my back pocket, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. So it's a large amount of money per incident. All right, so the average cost of cyber crimes across all of the organizations that were surveyed was $7.6 million per year. All right, so an individual incident on average was about 640K, but they may have multiple incidents per year. So 7.6 million on average. And depending upon the industry, depending upon the company, that could range in cost from about $500,000 up to $61 million. So cyber attacks are costing some companies and some industries $60-70 million a year in impact. All right, so the type of industry plays a role in the frequency and the impact of cyber attacks. Energy and utilities was really top of the list. Financial services was secondary, and then the technology sector was really third on that list. So depending upon the industry, the actual impact, the frequency, and the severity, of course, will vary. All right, so speaking of the frequency of attacks, of the 250 companies that were surveyed, each reported encountering over 250 attack attempts per week. Okay, that's mind-boggling when you really think about it. That's a lot. And then each company reported having an average of 1.7 successful cyber attacks per week. Again, a mind-boggling number. So hopefully what I'm doing here is really just driving home the fact that companies across every industry need qualified security professionals. They need information security professionals, Security Plus, and some of the advanced certifications. This is a burgeoning, exploding field that every organization has a strong need for. And there's been further studies that show the more qualified people they have on staff, the lower their impact, the lower their risk, and of course lower the actual monetary impact upon their businesses. So these types of studies, I would encourage you to go out and research for yourself. Have that in your back pocket, so when you go to apply for a job or you go to apply for a raise or whatever, you can show concrete evidence that this is an extremely important field, an extremely important endeavor, and every company has a need for these qualified security professionals.